The loudspeaker cracks and flattens the words, the kind of airport voice that sounds both urgent and bored. Final boarding to San Diego at gate B19. Coffee burns somewhere behind me. The tile shines. My suitcase wheels wobble and sing. In my blouse pocket, 4 paper slips press warm against my skin, my name printed on each one. I keep my grip on the handle and breathe through my mouth. The air tastes like bleach and espresso. I can smell the perfume of someone I cannot see. There they are. Ava's blazer is cut sharp and dark, a necklace that looks like a ribbon of light resting at her collarbone. She is already looking past me, over me, at the numbers on the overhead screen. Connor stands half sideways, chin down the light from his phone, turning his face a pale blue. Lily lifts her phone to the glass wall and lines her reflection up with a parked plane. She tips her head, changes angles, pouts, laughs at herself, snaps 345. I lift my hand. The tickets rasp inside my pocket. My fingers brush the edge and I feel the stiffness of card, stalk the raised letters, my own name again and again. Mom, Ava says, as if the word were a fact to confirm, not a greeting. She kisses the air an inch from my cheek. I smell something citrus on her wrist, something expensive. We should get in line. I was here early, I say. Security was easy. Connor does not look up. Lucky, he says, his thumb's moving. His suit jacket gapes open when he shifts, and I catch a rectangle of manila paper in the inside pocket. A corner of it is bent soft from handling. Lily lowers her phone and leans in. Grandma, you made it. Her tone is sweet and distracted at once. She moves a curl behind her ear without looking at me. I made it, I say. The zipper on my suitcase scraped part of my wrist on the train over. I rub the drying line of skin with my thumb and feel that familiar roughness at the ball of my hand where a needle used to rest. My right middle finger has a tiny callus that never softened even after I sold the Singer. I find it now as if it were a bead I had sewn in place years ago. Some things sit where you leave them. Lines moving, Connor says. We shuffle forward. The strap of my bag slides and squeaks with each step. A child cries near the juice bar. Somewhere a bird got in and is scolding the ceiling. I hear it over the announcements. The small sound zigzags, then vanishes. Ava's phone rings. A small buzz against her palm, then the cool sing-song she never silences. She glances at the screen and everything in her face shifts, tightens. She steps a half pace away, turns her head. Hey, she says softly, the kind of soft that pretends it is private even in a crowd. Bree. Lily rolls her eyes at the floor and mouths a name I know. I look at the line, the rope, the silver stanchion, the black belt that keeps people in place. Ava's voice drops. No, listen to me. If you stay, it gets worse. If you leave, you breathe. He cannot follow you onto a plane. The child near the juice bar hiccups and goes quiet. The bird chirps again, closer to the signs this time. Connor straightens a bit, and the manila corner peeks out again, then disappears. Ava ends the call and turns back. Her eyes look wet, but not with tears. With shine. Mom, she says, something came up. Brianna is in a situation. She needs to get out of Denver for a few days. We can help her. How I say. Ava tilts her head. We were thinking she could take your spot, she says gently, as if it were a cushion on a couch. It's only 3 days. My fingers find the tickets again. Paper against skin, a ridge where the perforation would be, if tickets still tore neatly in half. My spot, I say, as if I am tasting the word, as if it has a flavor. This trip is a gift. Mom, we know, Connor says, giving me his practiced smile, the one that straightens only one side of his mouth. And we appreciate it. Travel can be a lot at your age. The walking, the sun, the new beds. It can throw your system. We want you comfortable. I'm comfortable, I say. Lily slides a rectangle toward me. Grandma, this is so amazing. Look. She is holding a boarding pass with a name that is not mine. Branna Cole. The printer has cut off the first letter. The ink is fresh. We already changed it so she can come. You're the best. The air thins. People behind us shift shoes, scuffing a bag, thumping the floor. The smell of coffee grows stronger, then fades. The overhead voice says the gate number again and the zone numbers, and to have your documents ready. My blood feels like it is moving slowly, each beat dragging a little. Ava, I say. Mom, this is what friends do, she says, speaking quickly, now filling the space. Bree is like a sister. This is a crisis. We can travel together anytime. Anytime, Connor repeats, rolling the phrase between his teeth like gum. Grandma San Diego is full of hills, Lily says brightly. The sidewalks are steep. The stairs are everywhere. You would hate it. A woman 2 people behind us looks at me and then away. A man clears his throat. Someone's carry-on hums over the seams in the floor. I hear the seams because that is what I hear now, lines that hold things together. Threads under fabric. Zippers catching. The tiny teeth that interlock or do not. Don't be selfish, Mom Ava says. Her voice is sweetened and sharp at once. I do not feel heat in my face, no flush, no dizzy spin. I feel something like cold ink spreading in clear water. I slide my hand into my pocket and take the tickets out. 4 pieces, white hearts beating between my fingers. The paper is heavier than I remembered when I bought them. Heavier than yesterday when I checked the times and put them back in their envelope. Heavier now because the weight is not paper. Weight can be the same and feel different. I set my suitcase upright. It clicks into place. My breath is steady and low. I look at Ava. I look at Connor. I look at Lily, whose eyes are shiny like her mother's, whose mouth is holding a pose for a picture even now. I take the top ticket and fold it crease on crease thumbnail, pressing down, and the sound it makes is the sound of a seam pulled too tight. A small fibrous cry. I tear. The rip is clean and crooked. I tear the next one, then the next. By the time I reach the 4th, no one is breathing near me. The boarding area has become a lake without wind, Mom Ava says, but the word comes out thin. Connor takes a step forward and stops. I lift my palm. He freezes. His eyes flick to the manila envelope and back. He says nothing. I slide the torn pieces into my bag. The fragments slide like leaves. I wrap my fingers around the suitcase handle. The rubber is warm from my skin. My palms have their own heat. I feel every ridge of the molded grip, every place my fingers fit, as if they were meant for each other. I turn and start toward the exit. The stanchion belt quivers when I brush it. The bird calls again. The sliding doors breathe open, then closed, then open. A woman with a stroller holds the glass with her hip and smiles without looking. The air near the doors is cold or a little wet. Outside, the sky is a flat pale, and the shuttle bus pulls up with a groan. Mom Ava calls. Mom! Her heels snap against the floor. Those tickets were in your name. What did you just do? I keep walking. The door opens. The edge of my suitcase lifts over the metal track and drops with a soft thud. My keys clink inside my bag, the small sound of a thing that belongs to me. I ride the airport shuttle without watching the windows. The floor hums under my shoes. A man in a ski jacket snores softly against the pole, and his breath smells like mint gum. When the doors puff open at my stop, the cold bites my cheeks. I pull my collar close and follow the painted arrows through the parking garage. Concrete salt oil. The wheels of my suitcase clatter over a seam, and then the sound changes to the rubbed whisper of sidewalk. My building breathes warm air into the foyer. The lobby plant is a rubber tree that does not belong in Colorado. Its leaves shine with a thin spray of water that someone has just misted. I press the elevator button and watch the light bloom behind the plastic cap. On my floor, the hall smells like toast. Somewhere a radio plays a song from 20 years ago. My key slides clean into the lock. The door gives with a click I know with my bones. I set the suitcase upright by the coat rack and lean my head against the wood for one breath. Then I go through the small motions. Shoes off. Coat on the hook. House quiet. The window looks out onto Washington Park, where the lake is a cold plate and the geese write blunt V shapes across it. I put water on for tea. The kettle at first is only metal, then it finds a voice. On the table sits the singer. I did not sell the one I kept even after I sold the newer machine. It is heavy and black with a gold scroll like a small crown across it. I touch the wheel and my finger lands where it always lands, on the little rough place at the knuckle of my middle finger. The callus is a coin under the skin. The skin remembers what the mind forgets. Someone knocks. 3 light taps like a spoon against a glass. I open the door and Evelyn Green holds up a paper bag that bleeds a warm smell of sugar and cinnamon. You came back early, she says. She has wool stuck to her coat, gray on gray. She steps inside without waiting because we have done this 100 times. She sets the bag down and starts opening cabinets like it is her kitchen. I made waffles and then I saw your light. Thought you might want one while it is still a waffle and not a memory. I laugh because she makes me. I plate 2 and pour tea. We sit across the small table. She looks at my face and then at my hands as if the truth might be hiding in either place. You went to the airport, she says. She does not ask. I did, I say. And then you came home? I did. Evelyn stirs her tea without sugar. Her spoon makes a small circle and a small sound. Saw Connor at the mailboxes last week. She says, careful. Twice. He had your key. He said you asked him to grab your statements. I did not say anything, but it did not sit right in the drawer. I hear the word statements and my stomach tightens. Paper has weight when it is stacked. Heaps of weight. I see the manila edge in his jacket and taste metal at the back of my mouth. Thank you, I say. She reaches across the table and touches my wrist once. You are not alone, she says and drinks. After she leaves, the apartment smells like her lotion and waffles. I wash the plate. I put the kettle back on. The geese scold the sky. The phone rings at 11. It rings because I have not turned the sound off. I look at the screen and it is Ava. Mom, she says, bright and thin. Can you come by on Thursday to help me deep clean before Friday night? Connor's partners are coming. You do the best windows. They streak when I do them. I look at the singer. I look at my tea. Hire a service, I say. Silence clicks on her end. I can picture her mouth opening and closing like a fish. Since when do we hire strangers when we have family, she says, still bright, but with a new wire inside. Since now, I say, I have plans on Thursday. What plans, she says, not a question, a disbelief. My plans, I say. She hangs up without goodbye. 10 minutes later, the phone rings again. Connor. I let it go to voicemail, and then I listen because I want his words where I can hold them. Hope you are well, he says, with that smile you can hear. Ava was a little surprised. We know change can be confusing at your age. Let us know when is a better time for you to help. Family is sacred. We keep things stable. Stability is good for everyone. I delete the message and then I empty the deleted folder. And then I turn on the voicemail save function that keeps copies on a cloud I can see on my computer. I open the drawer where the little box of paper clips lives and set it out on the table. Paper clips are small hands that hold on without teeth. I line 5 of them like 5 thin fish and feel calmer. At 2, I pull on a sweater and wrap a scarf around my neck and walk to the office of Daniel Hart. It is 3 blocks down and 5 blocks over in a low brick building with a carved stone cornice. The waiting room smells like leather and lemon oil. A clock ticks in a way that sounds like a heartbeat heard through a wall. Daniel is older than I remember, but his eyes are steady. He was Henry's friend long before he was mine. He stands when I enter and takes my hand in both of his. Nora, he says, come sit. You are here because something is wrong. We will make it right as far as paper can make things right. His office is lined with shelves of thick books that nobody reads cover to cover. He pulls a folder across the desk and slides forms out. Some have my signature. I recognize the loop I give to the N and the way the W drops too low. He points to the headings and speaks clearly. Power of attorney, durable. This gives Ava access to act on your behalf if you become incapacitated. This one allows Connor to advise on the sale of property. This one expresses a wish that your condo pass outside of probate. I sign those, I say. My voice is not a waiver. It is a blunt object. Did you understand the scope at the time, he asks. I trusted them, I say. He nods once. We can revoke. We can replace. We can put locks where there were latches. He lays out clean forms with empty lines. A paralegal brings in a notary stamp and the smell of ink rises quick and sweet. Daniel hands me a pen that is heavier than it looks. Read, he says. Ask me anything. I read. He answers. He does not hurry. The pen warms under my fingers. When I sign the revocations, the notary presses the seal and the paper accepts the bruise with a pale ring. Daniel opens a drawer and brings out a new folder. I suggest a new account at a new bank, he says. No shared access. I suggest you stop any automatic transfers. I suggest we review your will and consider directing assets to people or places that are not pressuring you. Silver Harbor, I say without thinking. The nursing home on South Pearl with the garden where they let the residents plant herbs in waist-high beds, and the Justice Group for older people, the one with the office on Broadway. Elder Justice Colorado, he says. He writes the names on a pad, and the sound of his pencil on the paper is a small dry whisper. We talk through numbers. The numbers do not change the way the room feels. It is steady. When I leave, my bag is heavier. It is a good weight. On my way home, I stop at the hardware store. The bell over the door clicks like a small bird. I buy a new deadbolt and a doorbell camera. The clerk shows me the way the camera sees on his phone, and the smooth square of the black lens looks back at me without blinking. At home, I lay the parts out on a towel. Screws like small silver seeds. I work slow. The door gives to the screwdriver and then accepts the new metal without complaint. When the camera light blinks blue, I link it to my phone and watch the square show me my own face in the door frame. I think of keys and see what I do not see. I make a new rule in my mind. No more copies I cannot account for. No more hands that let themselves in. At 6, Rita Alvarez knocks. She is wearing her apron, still the one from the bakery with flower handprints on it. "Do you have a minute?" she says, and I let her in. She holds her phone in both hands like it might jump. "I should have told you sooner," she says. Last month out on the sidewalk, I heard Ava on her phone. She was laughing, and she said she would fix her kitchen the minute you were gone. She said this building was a gold mine. Maybe she was angry. Maybe it was a joke. It did not sound like a joke. Rita looks at my eyes the whole time. She does not look away when she says gone. I pour her tea, and the steam makes little clouds between us. "Thank you," I say. It is all I say. After she leaves, I sit at the table without moving. The singer is quiet. The door is quiet. In the park, the geese lift up and write their floating letters in the white air again. The phone rings at 8. It is Ava with a voice full of sugar. "Mom, I did not mean to sound pushy earlier. It's just a lot this week. We really need you. You are the only one who can get the baseboards right." "I am not available," I say. "Since when are you not available?" she says, and the sugar melts. "Since now," I say. She hangs up harder this time. 10 minutes later, I put on my coat and go down to the mailboxes. The metal slots smell like damp paper and pennies. I open mine and take out coupons and a circular and a letter from the bank with the blue logo of the new place I walked into this afternoon. When I close the box, I feel watched and look up at the camera in the ceiling. It watches because that is its job. It watches everyone the same. Back upstairs, I turn off most of the lights and sit with the lamp by my chair. I run a finger over the rough edge of an old photograph of Henry and I at a picnic, his hand around the back of my neck, his wedding ring catching the sun. I put the picture down and pick up the phone to set a password on the voicemail so no one can delete what I need to keep. At 9:50, the phone buzzes with a new message. I do not answer. I play the voicemail with the volume low. "Hope Connor says, using my name on purpose. This little rebellion of yours is getting out of hand. Ava is distressed. If you keep this up, we will have to consider other options. There are ways to handle situations like yours. Call me back." The message ends in a click that sounds like a door latch. Outside my window, a goose calls once, and then the park is still. I set the phone face down on the table. The screen glows for a beat through the case and then goes dark. The kettle breathes as it cools. The new deadbolt sits solid in the door, and when I touch the lock, my fingers feel the cold round metal like a coin with a face rubbed smooth. Morning comes thin and colorless. The park is a sheet of pewter, and the geese have scribbled across it in dull gray. I wake before the kettle, and I do not turn on the news. The message from Connor still sits inside my phone like a stone. I carry it into the kitchen and set it down beside the sugar. I make tea and drink it standing. Joni calls at 9. Her voice is butter on warm toast. "Come see me," she says. "I'm making a mess of quilts and I need your eyes." "I cannot do today," I say, and the truth is that I could. I look at the singer and then I look at my shoes. "I can do tomorrow." "Tomorrow," she says. "I will pick you up from Asheville Station. Bring nothing you are afraid to get dusty." The train moves southwest through brown fields stitched with irrigation lines. In the glass, my face floats over the body of the land. Somewhere past the state line, the light changes and grows softer. I count small white churches with steeples like knitting needles. The car smells like dry wool and coffee. A man across the aisle naps with his mouth open and his hat tipped over his eyes. Asheville Station breathes out people with bags and old women in bright sneakers. Joni waits with her hair in a scarf, the same face I grew up next to, the same eyes, with one ink dot in the left one like a punctuation mark. She hugs me and then holds my forearms as if to check for breaks. "There you are," she says. "Let us feed you." Her kitchen smells like butter and thyme. She slides a pan into the oven and talks to it like it is a child who will listen if you keep your voice kind. We eat at the counter, the two stools we have always used since her husband took the table away for refinishing and never returned it. Her laugh is the same. When she asks what happened at the airport, the words come out of me clean without apology. Her face is a bright sky, and then it tightens with cloud. "You are 68, she says, not a relic in a cabinet." We walk through the arts market in the afternoon. The booths are rows of small altars to someone's hands. A potter sits behind a wheel with his foot pumping a slow beat. He pulls a cup out of a lump, and I hear water drip off his elbows onto the tray. Clay remembers whatever you do to it. You press a finger and it keeps the fingerprint until heat tells it a new truth. The wheel hums and the cup rises. He pinches the lip thin and it holds. "Do you want to try?" he says, and my hands answer before my mouth does. The wheel is cool under my palms. The slip smells like rain in a basement. When it spins, the lump becomes something willing. I press my thumbs lightly and feel the belly open. The wall lifts in my hands. When I pull too fast, the clay wobbles and threatens to fall. I slow. It steadies. I make a shape that is not a bowl and not a cup, something narrow at the top like a throat. "Look at you," Joni says. She's smiling with her whole face. We take the mountain road after lunch. The asphalt unwinds itself into a long ribbon that someone else laid here long ago. Trees knit over us, bare branches crossing and recrossing like someone basting two pieces of a pattern. In a turnout, we stop and look down at a valley glazed in winter light. Cold, clean air pours into me and clears a space. "Stitch yourself back the way you want," Joni says. "Do not let anyone else do the hemming." We do not speak after that for a while. The car hums. A hawk hangs in the air above the slope, rocking on its own balance. Late in the day, we return to the station. The train breathes like a sleeping thing. I hug Joni tight, and the scarf at her neck smells like bergamot. Back home, the hallway smells like someone burned soup. The new deadbolt slides clean and warms under my fingers. The doorbell camera catches my face and then lets me in. The apartment is the same shape as yesterday, but the air feels wider. I make tea. I open the mailbox app and watch the new letter preview scroll. There is a glossy brochure inside the physical box someone has photographed for me. The title reads Senior Care Options in friendly blue letters. It is addressed to me at my old name, and it is not signed by anyone I know. I set the brochure on the table, and nobody is here to see me do it. I pick it up and put it in the recycling. I wash my hands under water that turns pink with cold and then warms. 10 minutes later, the phone rings. Ava. "Mom," she says, and the sweetness is back, only thinner. "Could you stay with Lily from Friday to Monday? We are flying with friends to Puerto Rico. She can order pizza. It is really just the nights." "No," I say. "You are always with Lily," she says. "Not always," I say, "not this weekend." A pause opens and stays open. "What is this?" she says. "My answer," I say. After we hang up, I walk the block to the little labor agency to ask for the number of a cleaning service for myself. I schedule a company to come scrub my kitchen on Saturday, just because. When they ask for a reason, I say spring. The woman on the phone laughs and writes it on her form. In the afternoon, I call Daniel Hart and tell him about the new brochure and the phone messages and the knocks at my door. He listens without noise. At the end, he clears his throat. "I would like you to get an independent evaluation," he says. "A calm professional assessment of your cognition and mood. If anyone questions your decisions, we will have already done the work. Dr. Kendra Lee is excellent. I will make the call if you want." "I want," I say. The office of Dr. Lee is quiet, in the kind of careful way that makes you breathe more slowly. The waiting room plants are real. A watercolor of mountains hangs behind the receptionist. When Kendra opens the door, she is smaller than I expect and looks at me the way a carpenter looks at a crooked frame, not with judgment, but with interest in how to make it true. We sit in a room with a window that looks at a tree. She pours tea that smells like flowers in a field and asks me to tell her about my days. I do. She asks what I remember from last week and last year, and who is the president, and to draw a clock that says 10 past 11. I draw, and the pencil does what I ask it to do. She hands me a sheet with symbols and a list of numbers to repeat back. She asks about sleep and food and fear. When I tell her about the threat in Connor's message, she does not flinch. She writes a note I cannot read from where I sit, and then she looks up and meets my eyes. "You are clear," she says, alert, oriented, intact judgment. Your boundaries are consistent with your history and the facts you have experienced. I will write a report. On the way out in the hallway, I watch a woman my age pat the front of her coat as if to check for a heartbeat. She smiles at me, and I smile back. In the car, I sit with my hands on the wheel and let my shoulders drop before I start the engine. At home, I change the code on the lock. The keypad buzzes and then accepts the new sequence like a secret I am allowed to keep. I pull the key ring out of my bag and slide the long brass key that used to open my door off the ring I made for Ava years ago. The sound of the split ring scraping across the key's hole is a small metallic sigh. I set the spare inside a drawer and close the drawer all the way. It does not bounce back. That night, a text from Lily arrives with a photo of her on a beach at sunset. Her hair is an orange halo. The water keeps rolling in behind her and going out without her noticing. There is one word under the picture: paradise. I study her face and the curve of her smile and try to remember the last time she looked at me the way she looks at herself. My thumb hovers over the keyboard and finds no words. I put the phone down. The next day, Ava leaves 3 messages while I am at the ceramic studio. The wheel feels different under my hands than it did in Asheville. The slip here has a stronger smell, and the teacher is a woman with silver in her hair braided tight. She shows me how to center by leaning her whole weight over my hands. Let the clay decide to be still, she says, then ask. By the end of the hour, there are 2 small forms on my board, both odd, both something. I carry them to the shelf and write my initials under the wet bases with a wooden stick. N.W. The letters look like 2 birds sitting on a line. When I play the messages at home, they move from sticky sweet to brittle. In the last one, Ava's voice shakes. Mom, you cannot keep doing this. I had to cancel the Puerto Rico flights. The hotel will not refund. Michael is furious. Lily refuses to stay with a sitter. We need to talk. I do not call back. I boil pasta and eat it out of the pot with a spoon because I do not want another dish. I rinse the pot and leave it to dry. I stand at the window and watch the path through the park grow darker and then disappear. The lamps click on one by one like eyes. At 10, my phone lights with a number I do not recognize. I let it go. The voicemail is Connor's voice made of iron filings. This is unacceptable, he says. Ava is at her breaking point. As your lawyer, I strongly advise you to reconsider. If you cannot behave like a responsible grandmother, there are facilities that can help. Do not make us take steps you will regret. The kettle howls. I turn the heat off and let it settle. I open the voicemail app and copy the message to the cloud again. I name the file with the date and time. I set the phone face down. The laminate shines with the reflection of the lamp. The next morning is the kind that looks empty from the window, but fills up when you put on shoes. I walk 2 loops around the lake. The geese glare and hush and let me pass. At the corner, a dog strains at a leash with joy. My lungs do their work and my legs do theirs. When I come back up the stairs, my breath is warm on the cold air and the doorbell camera light glows a soft blue. I am pouring water into the kettle when the phone buzzes with a notification from the door. I swipe, and the small screen fills with 3 faces stretched a little by the lens. Ava at the front with her mouth set in a line I know from childhood. Connor just behind eyes, slick and bright. A man I do not know stands to the side with a leather bag and a clipboard in his hand. The man leans toward the button like it might prefer him if he's courted. The bell sings in my apartment clear as a spoon on crystal. I do not open right away. I press the small talk button on the app and hear my voice come back to me a half-second later through the speaker by the door. Who is with you, I say. Ava leans closer to the camera. Her eyelashes are careful. Mom, it is me, Connor, and Dr. Patel. He is a geriatric specialist. He can help. Help with what I say. With all of this, she says, and moves her hand in a small circle that takes in the hallway. Connor lifts his chin and smiles up into the lens. Let us in, Nora, he says. We can explain. I breathe once. The kettle on the stove has not started to sing. I walk to the door and stand still until my heartbeat slows. I turn the deadbolt and open. The hall smells like someone's laundry detergent. Fresh cotton in a bottle. The man with the leather bag is shorter than he looked on the screen. He holds the clipboard like a shield. Mrs. Whitfield, he says, I am Dr. Sanjay Patel. May we sit where you are comfortable? You may, I say. I step aside and hold the door with my palm. I watch their shoes cross the threshold. Ava in narrow heels that click. Connor in soft leather that does not make a sound. Dr. Patel in black lace-ups with a smear of salt at the seam. We move to the living room. I set out 4 cups and pour tea as if we are all here for a normal reason. Steam rises and fogs the air between us for a second. The room holds the smell of black tea and lemon. I put the sugar near Ava because she will not use it, and because she will feel seen when I do. She puts her hands in her lap. Connor does not sit back. He perches and leans forward and plants his elbows on his knees. Dr. Patel chooses the edge of a chair and squares his shoulders like a student. Mrs. Whitfield, he says again, your family has shared concerns. There have been changes in behavior, resistance to support. We often see this in late life adjustment. With your permission, I can conduct a brief assessment. We can see if services would be appropriate. We want to make sure you're safe and comfortable. I pick up my cup. The rim is warm and smooth. I leave it untouched and set it down. The saucer whispers. I've had an assessment, I say. I have a report. Ava blinks. Connor moves his eyes from my face to the bookshelf and back as if the answer might be written there. Dr. Patel opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. May I see it, he says. In a moment I say, first I want to be clear. This conversation is being recorded. The doorbell camera captures audio and video. My phone is recording. My lawyer will receive a copy. Connor laughs in a way that does not reach his eyes. Nora, come on. I reach to the end table and lift a folder. It is the heavy blue kind with a metal clip at the top. I slide out 3 sheets with a gold notary seal on the last page. The seal has a star in the center, and the paper buckles slightly where the stamp is pressed. I place the report on the coffee table. Dr. Patel leans forward and reads the header. His hand shakes a little, and the clipboard knocks his knee. Dr. Kendra Lee, he reads, yes, she is reputable. I set the second document next to it. A typed log of voicemail messages with date and timestamps. The last one from last night. The words transcribed exactly as he spoke them. Facilities. Steps you will regret. I place my phone beside the paper screen lit. The red circle shows the recording is live. Ava picks up her cup and sets it down without drinking. A small ring of tea wets the saucer. She's careful not to let it run over. She looks at me and her face opens in the way she uses when she wants something to be true because she is saying it. Mom, we are worried, she says. You have been different. You are pushing us away. You left the airport. You refuse to help. This is not you. This is me, I say. I am aware. I am oriented. I am making choices. Connor puts his palms up. The pose of surrender, which is not surrender at all. We are offering help, he says. You are responding with hostility. You are escalating. Nobody wants to go to court. It is stressful for everyone. Court, I say. I let the words settle between us. Court is a place with rules. Dr. Patel clears his throat. The sound is small and dry. Mrs. Whitfield, I cannot overrule a completed assessment. I can only add notes if I observe something immediate. May I ask a few standard questions? Today's date, where we are, who the president is. You may not, I say. You have the report. You may read it, and you may take your bag and go. Ava's mouth opens and then shuts. She folds her hands together, and the diamond on her finger throws small specks of light on the table. She looks at the diamond as if it might answer her. Mom, she says, we just need to know you are not making rash decisions. Connor has some papers that might help. They keep things stable. We can make sure your bills are paid. We can make sure you're not taken advantage of. Connor reaches into his jacket and pulls the manila envelope I saw at the gate. It comes free with a sticky sound. He slides a set of forms toward me like a dealer sliding cards. The title is printed in bold. Healthcare Proxy, Financial Management. He taps the line where my name would go. We did this before, he says. This is just an update. We did this before, I say. I have revoked those documents. You should not have copies. Leave them here. They will go into the shred bin at my lawyer's office. He pulls his hand back. The smile drops. His mouth is a straight line. Under the table, his foot bounces once and then stops. I will get Daniel on speaker, I say. I press the phone. It rings and he answers on the second ring. He says my name and then he says hello to the room as if he can see it. Connor Daniel says, Good afternoon, Dr. Patel, Ms. Brooks. Mr. Hart, Connor says. His voice is full of air. We are having a family conversation. You are standing in my client's living room with a physician and a stack of forms, Daniel says. That is a legal conversation whether you want it to be or not. I have reviewed the independent assessment. I have the recordings of last night's threats. Any attempt to file for guardianship will be met with a motion for sanctions and a complaint for coercion and elder abuse. Please leave the forms on the table. Do not take pictures. Do not force a signature. Nobody breathes for a moment. The only sound is the clock in the kitchen and the faint tick of the radiator. Ava speaks first. She sounds softer. We are not trying to hurt anyone, she says. We were scared. Fear does not sign other people's names, Daniel says. You are all adults. Act like it. I end the call. The silence that follows is not heavy. It is clean. I look at Ava and hold out my hand. Keys, I say. She blinks. She looks at her bag, then at me. Her fingers move inside the bag slow at first, then faster. She pulls out a brass key and a small black fob for the building. She holds them both on her palm. Her hand trembles. The keys chime against each other. I do not move my hand to meet hers. She stands and crosses the room and sets them in my open palm. The metal is cold and real. I close my fingers around them. Thank you, I say. Connor does not move. He looks at the notary seal and then at Dr. Patel. Dr. Patel picks up his leather bag and stands. I apologize for the intrusion, he says. Mrs. Whitfield, I see no immediate safety concerns. I wish you well. He walks to the door and waits as if the door will open itself. Ava follows him and then turns back once at the threshold. Her face is not polished now. It is bare and young and old at once. Mom, she says. She does not add a sentence. She steps into the hall. Connor is last. He gathers the manila envelope and tucks it back into his jacket, but he leaves the forms he slid toward me on the table because he has been told to leave them. He stops with one foot over the threshold and tilts his head. You cannot keep this up, he says softly. It is not sustainable. I look at the door frame. The paint is chipped at hip height where grocery bags knock it on their way in. I look at the lock. It sits square in its new plate. Goodbye, Connor, I say. He leaves. The hall fills with the small noise of their steps. The elevator hums and then is still. I close the door and turn the deadbolt. The lock slides and clicks. The sound lands low in my chest. I stand there with my hand on the metal and breathe until my breath steadies and the small tremor in my finger stops. The room smells like tea and the faint citrus of Ava's perfume. The cups sit on their saucers with rings like small moons. I carry them to the sink. The water runs warm over china. The kettle bumps the rim when I set it in to fill. In the park, a goose yells, once then settles back into whatever geese do when no one is looking. The singer on the table is a quiet black weight with gold at its throat. I rest my palm on it for a second the way you touch a sleeping animal. My phone screen lights on the table. A name fills the glass. Lily. The picture is one she took herself because that is what she does. Her face is in half-light on a pier and the water is dark behind her. The phone vibrates once, twice. I look at it and then I pick it up and swipe and lift it to my ear. Grandma Lily says, and the sound of the word is careful and raw at once. Can you hear me? I say. I sit because my knees have their own minds when a voice comes like that. I listen to them, she says. I did not mean to. They were in the kitchen. They were talking about you, like you were a problem to solve. Dad said he was disappointed the plan did not work. He said guardianship would have made everything simple. Mom said maybe they should wait and pretend to make up so you would sign things. I felt sick. I went upstairs and could not swallow. I am sorry for how I have been, for the airport, for all of it. Her breath catches and I can hear the small sound of a sleeve across a cheek. I look at the singer and then at the door. The lock sits where it should. Thank you for telling me, I say. I do not know how to fix it, she says. I do not want anything. I just want to see you. Can I come by tomorrow after school? Yes, I say, come. She arrives with a bunch of flowers held in butcher paper. Not roses. Daisies and something purple and a green that smells like rain. She stands at the threshold and looks at the new deadbolt and then at me. I step aside and she steps in. She moves like a person who is aware of where her body ends and other things begin. She puts the flowers in the sink and runs water over their stems, and the sink fills with the smell of stems. When she turns, her face is lighter than I remember it being. She takes a folded page out of her backpack and hands it to me without speech. It is a letter written in her school cursive that slants right. 4 paragraphs. No jokes, no hearts. She tells me what she did and what she did not do, and what she thought was true and what she knows now is not. She says she wants to ask me questions about my life that she never asked. She says she found a volunteer program at a senior center and signed up for an orientation on Saturday. She says she hopes this is not too late to be a better person to me, even if it is late to be a better child to her parents. We make tea. She chooses a cup with a chip and does not turn the chip to the back. She sits at the table like she has done this before, but not with me. Her phone stays in her bag. She looks at my hands as if they might tell her something. I tell her about the warehouse where I cleaned floors at 4 a.m, and how I liked the shine when I left, even if nobody cared who made it. I tell her about the first dress I made for Ava, and how she stood on the bed and turned until she was dizzy and threw up on the hem and cried and then laughed. Lily laughs and covers her mouth because it sounds like a laugh that might be rude, and then lets the hand drop and laughs again. She asks about Henry, and I tell her the true parts and leave the small soft parts in my chest where they belong. When she leaves, she hugs me in a way that puts her cheekbone against mine, and I feel the tiny points of our faces line up. She leaves the letter on the table with a weight of 1 small glass of water to hold the curl out of the paper. The water leaves a ring, and I do not wipe it. 2 weeks pass without a knock or a stunt. The doorbell sees the mailman and Evelyn with a bag and nobody else. I go to ceramics class, and the forms I make are less embarrassed. The teacher shows me how to pull a wall evenly, and I feel something in my forearms I have not felt in years, a clean fatigue that belongs to work. I glaze a narrow vase with a green that looks wet even when it is dry. I scratch a title into the underside before the firing because that is how they mark things there, unstitched. The letters flake a little in the damp. On a Wednesday, Lily texts a photo of a flyer taped to a wall. Elder volunteers needed. She adds no words. On Friday, she stops by after the orientation and tells me about a woman with a blue scarf who gave her a tour and let her wheel a cart of puzzles to a room full of people whose minds are slippery. She says one of the women held her hand a long time and told a story about a kitchen that might have been hers or might have been a kitchen on a television. She says it felt like something mattering. The next Monday, Ava calls and asks to meet in a place that is not my apartment and not hers. I say yes to a coffee shop near the library. The air inside smells like brown sugar and milk, and the espresso machine spits at intervals like a tired cat. Ava arrives on time. Her hair is pulled back into something less exact than usual. She holds her bag against her side with 2 fingers like it is not heavy, and she will not let it lean. She sits and wraps both hands around a cup and does not drink. She looks at the tabletop. She looks at me. I am sorry, she says. The words are not dramatic. They are simple and square. I have been mean to the person who made my life possible. I do not know how to say that without making it about me. I have a therapist. I am trying to stop acting like I am the center of a room. I left Connor. He is angry. I'm not asking for anything. I wanted to say the words in a place where we could put them down between us and look at them without crying on them. She does cry a little, not the loud kind. The kind that makes the eyes fill and the voice drag in the middle like a stitch pulled too tight. She wipes under one eye with a tissue she has brought in case she needed one. She is not wearing the diamond. Her hands look less busy. I move my cup. I look at her. She holds my eyes as if she is tired of moving them around. Trust is a stitch, I say. You pulled it and the seam opened. I can sew. It takes time. I know, she says. I will take whatever you offer and not pry. We talk about Lily. We talk about a job she is starting on Monday, and how the commute will be a bus and a light rail, and then a walk that will ruin her shoes if it rains. She laughs, and it is a small sound that does not ask to be heard by the next table. We do not talk about forms or envelopes. When we stand, she does not reach to touch me. She nods once. It looks like a kind of bow. She leaves first. At home that night, there is a letter from Daniel in my mailbox. He writes in a hand that looks like a fountain pen because it is. He lists the documents he has filed and the dates the old ones died. He uses phrases that belong in books with red covers. Revocation. Recording. He writes one line that does not belong in a red book. You are all right. I put the letter in the drawer where the spare key used to live. The key sits above it in a small envelope with its own name in pencil on the front. Ava's key. At the ceramic studio, the community board is a patchwork of notes with tabs. Someone is looking for a house sitter. Someone found a cat. Someone wants to start a book group for mysteries with proper endings. There is a flyer for a show at the senior center, a group exhibit of work by people who did not start until they were already halfway down their road. I pin the corner with my finger and read the dates and add my name to the list and feel nothing large, only a small slice of quiet that makes room for air. On the day of the show, the room smells like coffee and cardboard and a cleaner that pretends to be lemons. Work hangs from temporary walls and sits on tables. Knitted things, photographs of faces and hands, paintings of mountains with too much purple and not enough. My little vase stands on a white shelf with a card that has my name and the title. People walk past and some do not see, and some stop and lean forward as if bending makes the seeing better. A woman with white hair the color of paper tilts her head and says the word under her breath, unstitched. She does not look around for me. She just says it to herself as if it fits in her mouth. Evelyn and Rita come. They stand on either side of me and pretend they just bumped into me, and then they do not pretend. Evelyn squeezes my arm once and lets go. Rita hands me a small box from the bakery with no label. Inside are cookies that look like buttons with stitched marks of chocolate on top. I eat one and chocolate gets on my lip and I lick it off. We laugh for no reason or for every reason. In the evening, the apartment is dark when I step in and the doorbell camera throws its soft blue on my coat. I drop my bag on the chair and set the vase back on the table. It looks different here. The glaze is the same and the shape is the same, but it looks like it knows something. I run a finger down the side and feel the thinness at the lip and the thick belly and the small wobble that lives near the base because I did not center it perfectly. It will always live there. That is how it is made. The phone buzzes on the counter. A text from Lily. A photo of a pile of jigsaw pieces spread like bright leaves on a wooden table and 4 hands sorting edge pieces from the middle ones. Her caption says only this, I thought of your seams. I send a heart because it is the only picture that says what I mean without adding noise. The next morning, the park is a thin silver again. I put on my shoes. I lock the door and pull the handle and check the lock because rituals keep the day inside its frame. Down the stairs, out into the cold air. The geese mutter and fan their heavy wings and lift slow into the pale sky like things that have decided to move. I walk toward the bus stop with a small bag and a ticket in my pocket, with my name on it and no other names. The wheels in my head and the wheels in the street and the little wheeled suitcase I pull all hum in the same key. The terminal later is bright and clean. The speaker announces a destination that is mine and only mine. I hold my paper. I feel the weight of it at the line. When the gate agent smiles and holds out her hand, I give her the ticket and she tears it neatly. The sound is not a rip. It is a clean breath. I pick up my bag and move forward. The jetway is a long throat full of light. The door ahead is open. I step through. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story.